So hi, my name is Talia Santiago, and I will be talking about mental health and COVID-19 today. According to the World Health Organization Constitution, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. 2020 has been a wild ride to say the least. And while the pandemic has had an extreme impact on one's physical well being, it is also important to note the mental well being of individuals as well. Mental health is a state of well being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental health is a fundamental to our collective and individual ability as humans to think, emote, interact with each other, earn a living, and enjoy life. On this basis, the promotion, protection, restoration of mental health can be regarded as a vital concern of individuals, communities, and societies throughout the world. So, obviously, throughout a global pandemic, a person's mental health should be protected and they should have the resources they need to cope and face the world at hand. Today, I will be explaining the different aspects of mental health and ways to cope with them during a pandemic. By first identifying the different kinds of mental health, then how COVID impacts them, and finally, resources and services to provide assistance to those in need. For starters, there are many variations of mental health. Stress is one of the most common, especially during the pandemic. It's a completely natural feeling that everyone deals with, and it is important that we know the ways to cope with stress. One simple way, could be just to exercise and being nice to your body and making sure that you get the right amount of sleep. Anxiety also ties into stress and is very normal and okay feeling. Being fearful of losing a loved one because of COVID-19 or being fearful of contracting the virus yourself can cause anxious feelings that should be brought to the attention of many. Feelings of anxiety should not be ignored. According to a study from Michigan Medicine, one should give yourself 15 minutes each day to spend on worrying about the virus, verbalizing and writing down your feelings, and worrying about the thoughts of anxiety. If those thoughts reoccur, you should, rather than suppressing them, you should allow yourself to do that and take more time to dedicate to it tomorrow. Feelings of depression are also very prevalent during these hard times. There can sometimes be an overwhelming amount of emotional ups and downs. Studies show that since the pandemic, 25% appears to be 7 times higher, thus suggesting an important impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on people's mental health. The best way to cope with depressive feelings is to talk about whatever you may be going through during that time in your life. Keeping in mind the different kinds of mental health, we also can discuss how COVID-19 creates such an impact on them. Social distancing, isolation, and quarantine can create mental health issues on one's psychological behavior, but it is first important to know the difference between the three. Social distancing is the effort to stop the outbreak by avoiding physical contact and creating greater physical distance between individuals. Isolation is a separation of ill persons with contagious diseases from non-infected persons to protect non-infected persons and usually occurs in hospital settings. Quarantine means the movement or restriction of persons who are presumed to have been exposed to a contagious disease but are not ill, either because they did become infected or because they are still during the incubation period. Some studies have shown that people have a fundamental need for positive and lasting relationships. This need is rooted in the evolutionary history and gave rise to the development of traits that enable individuals to gain acceptance and avoid rejection. Because of belongingness is such a core component in human functioning, social exclusion could influence many cognitive, emotional, and behavioral outcomes and personality expression, which explains a lot of the reasons that social distancing, isolation, and quarantine can impact an individual's well-being, considering that many studies have associated human happiness with social interaction. Now that we know more about the social distancing, quarantine, and isolation, I will discuss a few available resources. Improving the psychological well-being of yourself or others is detrimental no matter the circumstances. It is essential to be supportive, understanding to individuals who may be going through something during a pandemic. So, SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This service is a national hotline that provides referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, community-based organizations, and callers can also use the resources to get free publications and other information. If you ever need emotional support, contact the helpline or you can text them to talk to them. Mental Health Association of Rhode Island, also known as MARI, and Behavioral Health Link, BH Link, are also useful resources for Rhode Islanders during COVID-19. With all that being said, be kind. People are seriously struggling right now, whether it can be physically seen or not. In the words of Demi Lovato, I wish that people could understand that the brain is the most important organ in your body. Just because you can't see a mental health issue, like you could see a broken bone, it doesn't mean that it's not as devastating and detrimental to a family or an individual. Reach out to your loved ones and check up on them if you are struggling yourself, and don't hesitate to ask for help. And keep in mind that your actions do matter. Whether it's washing your hands and just wearing a mask, or becoming the person that someone feels comfortable talking to, everyone plays a role in the pandemic, but essentially we're all in this together. Thank you.